So that one there, so that was in the trilogy of subs that I have. That I bought in Hong Kong about 2013, and again, a fraction of what it's worth now, because I just thought it was cool.
It's such a great look, you know.
It's I used to have a Submariner with a date, a vintage one which I let go, and it's, you know, together with the Sea Dweller 666 that I was mentioning is one of my regrets. But then again, there was that, and you get something that doesn't have Rolex on the dial or the movement, but that looks exactly the same. It's the exact same case. It's the exact same, you know, how do you call this, chimney type crystal, you know, that sticks out 3 millimeters or so. So it's got the same look and feel, except that it's got this, you know, blue dial triangle, you know, at 6/9/12, which I find quite nice as well, and different. Nice patina on the bezel, and great for daily wear. Again, you know, ETA movement inside. Anyone can service this. It's actually a great daily watch. Again, if you're prepared to live with the junk that is the bracelet, the folded bracelet. But
at least you know you have it on the wrist.
I did, yeah, no, that for sure, and people will hear you coming, you know, the 10 meters away. So, oh, yeah, it's.
So we have this dial arrived on this one, except no, part of it arrived here. You have the 12 o'clock marker, and then these hands came here. I know we were talking about in my previous video about why they didn't copy either of these, and I think that there's no need to copy that. They've done it, and if they had copied it, damn if they do, damn if they don't. If they had copied the exact same hands and configuration, you know, people would complain. And and I think there's a great balance to the dial here. I don't mind mixing the snowflake with those indices.
So what I think about this mix is it did happen, but it happened by accident in the Marine Nationale, because when they had
probably was right
because when they had you know, they had their watch service at some watchmakers, it might have had a you know, square or snowflake dial with snowflake hands, and the hands were damaged, and they put on it whatever they had, and then you ended up with Mercedes hands on the snowflake dial, or vice versa. Having said that, I have seen some non-issued, at least a couple of non-issued black dial, and I think reference 7016, which is a reference just before that Marine Nationale, where you had both the traditional dials, so with the round indices, and with the snowflake hand. So it could have been done, but it would have been done in really, really small quantities. Otherwise, on the Marine Nationale, you could find anything, because anything could have happened. What I would love for them to do, I would love for them to revive that type of dial, either on a date or on a non-date, with a triangle. So that's one. And the other thing that they could do is they're never going to use the Mercedes hands on the Tudor again, because they reserve that for Rolex. So that's just a Rolex thing, and they want to segment it, and that's where it's going to stay. But they could use what was called a lollipop hand, which is the exact same, you know, second and minute hand, but the hour hand doesn't have the separations in the middle of the circle, right? The three branches in the middle of the circle. So that's called as lollipop. If they were to do something like this with you know, with a black bay, you know, be it 58 or the normal one, I think it would be awesome. With the triangle indices, it would be just such a good throwback, because both the reference 94010 had this kind of configuration, and the generation before this one, 76100, had that as well. So it would be nice if they just, you know, tapped into this a little bit.
Yeah, but I think, you know, designers usually they want to make a point and influence us as well. And if everybody starts saying you should do this, do that, and if they did it, then it sort of turned people off on the vision that they had.
But I'm not
this
asking.
one.
I'm not asking them to do whatever everybody else is
But,
saying.
hey,
just
you
what
could,
I'm saying is I'll be happy with
right.
that. Right.
But you could imagine someone wanting to customize these in a few years, like people love to customize their Seikos. You know, it's not like they are priceless works of art. And
Well, except that if you're going to be offering those services, I mean, someone just lost a case in California for customizing Rolex, right? So
they don't like people
yeah.
to mess with that design.
Oh, they don't
So
like.
what was the story of the purchase on this one?
Impulse buying, like complete impulse buying. I went.
You mean drunken?
Not this time. I spent a part of my life in that state, but not that one time. It was a very specific time of my life where I left Singapore because I was not just for professional reason but personal reason. I was not happy at all over there, and coming to Hong Kong was just a fresh start for me. And one weekend, maybe 1 month or 2 months into my time in Hong Kong, I was just browsing watches in TST, like I still do now, and on that weekend I just said, okay, look, I was just feeling good about myself, and I bought that, and then I walked a half kilometer down to another watch shop, and I bought a Polar Explorer 2 16570, which is the kind of stuff I usually never do.
Is that the one you sold? The one you have now is not the same.
Yeah, it's the one I have now.
Okay,
so
that's
the one
you have now.
The one with the tritium dial, and that
impulse buying is the best because you speak from the heart. You don't really think too much.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I mean, I love this Tudor. I absolutely love the 16570 reference. It was my first ever Rolex with a Luminova dial at the time when I bought it in 2002. Fantastic reference, flies under the radar, does everything you want them to do, especially if you travel across time zones. Now it's gained some popularity, but for many years nobody cared about them. I just like the fact that it was a sports Rolex that didn't look like a sports Rolex, and yeah, that's one of the very last watches I'd ever let go of, because I just like the reference, and I've researched it a lot. And what I probably have to do is I got a pretty good idea of all of the variations of that watch, be it the bracelet or the dial or the case or the movement and some quirky things. So maybe one day I need to put this all in an Excel table with a chronology, and you can publish that, and you'll have an exclusive on your website, because I don't think I've seen this anywhere else, and it's probably the only reference I'm comfortable enough to do this, because it's not that complicated.
So which one, if you had to pick one?
Oh, this one easily.
This one.
Yes, and not because of the value. Even if that didn't go up a dollar in
just
value. Visually, and because of the history of it, again, because it has a history behind it that I like. So it would be this one. Yes.
But they're both really beautiful. And so what do you think of the color? Let's just talk about the color, because I think everybody loves the Black Bay 58. There's a thing to say about the size. The 39 millimeters just hits the sweet spot in terms of visual relationship between the elements, I think. And on anybody's wrist, even if you have a big wrist, it doesn't matter. At one point, it just gets too big.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a 9-inch wrist, then probably you have other problems than choosing a watch. But
what about the choice of the blue? I think in person,
I think it's fantastic, and I think it looks very similar to what those ones would have been before they faded.
Right.
It's actually very, very, very similar, and you see.
Think it's gonna fade? I guess it's aluminium bezel. Will change. Do you think the materials have changed much?
I think they would, because I don't think, and I actually I'd have to look more closely. I don't think that they're coating it, because for instance, what happened is, I think it's sometimes in the 80s they started to put a coating over the aluminum, specifically to prevent it from fading.
Right.
And therefore the one from the 80s or 90s tend to not fade very much. the coating could go off, and then they would try. But I would think that if you went in salt water enough, and keep it at the sun a lot, it would naturally fade over the course of years and decades. If you were swimming every day in the sea, I could see a version where in 5, 6, 7 years you'd start have that, because you have this on some of the Omega Seamasters, the old James Bond one, right, from Pierce Brosnan era. I can't remember the reference because they are as useless as Seiko to name their references. But you do find them where the bezel has just faded into a very light blue, which I find extremely appealing as well.
I'm trying to wear this one outside and at sea as much as I can, because they've kind of pre-faded the dial already, which is a bit, looks good on its own, but doesn't marry as well with the rest. I think if the bezel faded a bit, that would really be smashing, and it makes it more personal as well.
It could, but it's going to take some time, because again, they're produced with modern techniques. They know about this. So have they left them untreated just so that it would over a period of time? Possibly so. At least it's not the complete disaster that they did with the bronze model that they did for the Tudor, which is just the daftest thing anyone can do. I'm not sure if you've seen pictures of that. They came out with this black bay in bronze.
Right.
And because of the different in metal, what is happening is when you put them in salt water, the bezel corrodes. So the bezel, because of it's a physical phenomena where if there's enough difference between the two metal, the stainless steel become a cathode and the aluminum becomes an anode, and then it starts to not fade. It literally starts to fade apart, and there's a few examples of that. So in terms of let's do something that looks cool because it's bronze, which is an inferior alloy for tough use than stainless steel is, but people are going to love the fact that it has a patina, but then the bezel is going to fall apart. So I just pity the poor sods who bought this. I'm going to take the watch.
You know who you are, people.
You know who you are. I'm really feeling
sorry. Wrong video to watch.
I'm feeling very sorry for you, because if
they're not wearing it in the water, don't worry.
Exactly, and
they're not Carl Brashear.
No, sure. They're going to wear it on their desk anyway. But that's.
Don't wash your hands with the watch.
It's probably tap water is okay, but certainly not salt water, because what you need is not just that. You need
don't keep it in the bath then.
Yeah, exactly. You need a salt, or in the swimming pool, because you have chlorine, and therefore you have some level of salt as well. So anyway, it's but on this they've done extremely well. I'm just surprised that Tudor would make a mistake like that, because they must know this. Because they've been in the business for long enough to understand what happens to, metal when you dip it in the water.
Maybe it was a joke.
Well, it's a bloody expensive joke for the people who have bought them. But go search the internet, and you like Tudor Black Bay bronze bezel problem, and you see what happens to these bezels. So that is to say that even Tudor and Rolex don't always get stuff right. We talked about the dials that were cracking or fading or whatnot in the 80s when they transitioned to the new glossy dials, which was an industrial accident of massive proportion, because they screwed their entire sports line for a period of 3 or 4 years. And interestingly enough, if you brought a watch to their service center at that time, they would replace your dial for free. Probably is the only time that Rolex ever did something for free, and that's them never acknowledging publicly, but acknowledging the fact that they had screwed up, and we need to put something else on there because we didn't think it through, or we executed it poorly. Obviously, you don't have this anymore right now, or in very rare exceptions, which is the reason why I find it so surprising that they did something like this with the Tudor bronze. That this you can wear any which way, anywhere. You're not going to.
The new cases are very, very sexy, and I like how thin they made the
lugs.
The bezel there.
Aesthetically, I think it stands a reason why they're.
We need to have a much older one for comparison, 1958, obviously.
Well, one of my friends had that Tudor big crown like
Yeah.
10 years ago, and I saw it, and his was in incredible condition. He's this guy who's a big collector and only buys perfect things, and he had one of those that he sold, but it was absolutely amazing. And the big crown Rolexes are very rare, but the Tudors are even rarer. So it's special. If you come across something like this, it's special. But you know, the great thing about this is you can have something that has pretty much the same kind of look and feel, and that you can enjoy every day. And you know, if it gets a ding or a scratch, it doesn't matter, because it's not like you're wearing a 20,000.
It's gonna look better actually with a few scratches. It's starting to pick them up. But I like that they didn't do it in a tacky way, trying to copy exactly the thing.
Yeah.
The real thing. I mean, I like the Longines Heritage Collection, but they copy exactly to the last detail the original usually.
Have you seen the one that they just came out with yesterday, the Marine Nationale?
Who, Longines?
Longines, yes. Really great looking watch.
Another one.
Yes. So 38.5 millimeters case. The original was, I think, 33 millimeters, but
Let's
that's a
try
watch.
to put it on the screen here.
Yeah. So the original one was like 33 millimeters, I think, and they were issued in the I think in the 40s, but they were not particularly waterproof, so they were not dive watches, so they were going to be used on board a ship. But they look great. I actually quite like what Longines is doing to revive the brand. They're decently priced. You can have something
You've
nice.
seen the tuxedo watches that just came out, you know, the chronograph and the three hand.
Yes, I did see
And that looks good. I'm looking forward to see them in person. It's probably going to be a bit on the thick side, but
yeah, that's something.
You can see how you feel when you see it. You can't tell really.
But that's the thing, you know, about a lot of companies, and this is why I think they got it so right with this one. It's not just the 39 millimeters; it's the fact that they kept it at 12 millimeter, which for me it's a huge factor, because if you're wearing a shirt, if you're gonna have a watch that's too thick, it's just not gonna fit under it. And you know, a standard watch, there's a lot of things to be said about it, which is one of the reasons why I like the Explorer 2 so much as well. It's just 12.3, I think, millimeters, so it's quite standard. It goes under any cuff. Great size altogether.
All right, well, I guess we're gonna leave it there for today. We drank too much water. Thank you, Jenny.
Oh well, thank you
Keep
for
on rocking the guitar.
Thank you for having me. Well, I'll practice as hard as I can just to come anywhere near, but yeah, we'll do this.
We're not done yet.
Any time really.
The collection is just that's just the first elements, but already, I mean, if you just had that, what an amazing collection. So many thanks for sharing it with us. I think you should have your own channel, because you've been in for much longer than I have in it, but it takes so much time. So happy to be the conduit for it.
Truth be told, I'm just too lazy to do it. I really do like your channel, because I think you and I share the same kind of philosophy when it comes down to that, in terms of what we like, what we don't like, and not taking this too seriously, but then still being quite passionate about this, and also from a user's perspective and how it wears and all this, which is one of the things I really liked on your channel to start with.
Well, till next time, probably very soon. We should have some time next week to do another video about the rest of the collection.
Well, hopefully so, yeah. Anytime.
Domo arigato!
Domo arigato.
Mata.